What is going on? No horsing around family. Zach Boyd back at it again, talking all things NFL, all things Colts. And to do that, I thought it would be super cool. We've had Kevin on the show before. I thought, well, hell, why don't we just get the other half on this show? You know, you guys have heard the voice, Eddie Garrison. Eddie, man, appreciate you hopping in and joining the pod today.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on. Only it's my first ever Colts podcast appearance anywhere. So other than Kevin's Corner. So
look at this. Come on.
Yeah, there you go, man. There you go.
Pretty cool. Well, we just dive right in, man. And we're just gonna kind of go over a few hot topics as we go down the line. But just initial thoughts from that Eagles game. I mean, gosh, the theme and the sentiment of the whole season, right, Eddie? Like just close, but not good enough.
Yeah, close but not good enough is a good thing, and I think the main thing you can take away from this is no matter you can change the coach, you can go from Frank Reich, you can go to Jeff Saturday, but at the end of the day, it's still the same players. You still have the same talent level. You sure you can be better coached, but at the end of the day, it comes down to players making plays. The Colts late did not make plays offensively. I thought the defense played a hell of a game from start to finish, and at the end they were just absolutely gassed, and that's kind of why you saw Jalen Hurts just be able to run it down their throat there at the very end of the game. But I mean, I think if you 2 weeks ago had you asked me, oh, how's this game going to go, it's going to be like, oh, Eagles 28-10, something like that.
Yeah.
You really didn't think that the Colts would be able to hang in there, but then you see the Commanders beat the Eagles on Monday Night Football. The Eagles are coming off the short week, and then you're like, oh, there's a way to beat them. The Colts have the blueprint. Outside of that first drive for Jonathan Taylor, he had like 14 carries for 35 yards or somewhere around that nature. So, I mean, the offensive line did not play well after that first drive, and like you said, it was just like an encapsulation of the entire season in 1 week.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, and all of this is going to kind of tie into one thing, and we've beat the drum. I've listened to enough of Kevin's Corner to kind of see the way you guys think as well. But when we talk about Chris Ballard, and I think of these three things, Eddie. I think in this game you didn't have a closer as far as an edge rusher goes. You didn't have that Robert Mathis, that Dwight Freeney. You don't even need that combo, just a guy to be able to close those football games out. You couldn't block. And you didn't have an elite NFL mobile quarterback. That has to fall on Chris Ballard when it comes right down to it. I know he's taken a lot here recently, but I would say rightfully so. What say you?
Totally agree with you there. When you look at the construction of this roster preseason, like you expected the offensive line to be, top 10 line, top 5 line. You didn't. I mean, based off of last year, I don't think many people expected them to play as like the number one offensive line, but you would expect a lot better play that you have received so far, specifically from right there in the middle in Ryan Kelly. I think that's where all the problems root right now with the Indianapolis Colts offensive line and the offense is the center, because he's in the middle of everything. He's the one that's responsible for all the pass protection. If it's not up to Matt Ryan at the offensive line, it's Ryan Kelly making all the adjustments in terms of shifting and who's got what in their assignments. I'm not going to go too far into that because I don't think there are that many people out there that care too much about the offensive line. But yes, go back to your question. And Chris Ballard, he deserves as much blame as he's receiving, because you have so much money invested not only on the offensive line, but on that defensive line as well. And outside of DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, you haven't received consistent play from Unique Ngakoue, from Daiwa Dingbo. You've seen some flashes here and there from Ifeadi Adeniabo, but outside of the two main guys in the middle, those typically aren't guys that are going to rush the passer and get sacks. You need someone off the edge. Kwity Paye's injury, I think, really showed light again with him out. You saw it in New England. Colts didn't really get to Mac Jones outside of that first quarter. They kind of adjusted to double up on Unique a little bit, give him more attention. And when you take away Kwity, it allows the offense to focus more on Unique Ngakoue. And Ngakoue's not a guy who's going to come in every day or every game and be like, okay, or you can feel that he's going to make a play. It's just sometimes he stumbles upon making a play. And I kind of felt that again on Sunday with the Colts on that defensive line. And right, and give credit to Jalen Hurts as well. Like the development they've done with Philly to go and in that game, we've seen it twice this year where a quarterback has tried to go at Stephon Gilmore for a deciding play, and it hasn't worked out well. And you saw A.J. Brown; he pretty much got locked up in the second half. I guess that's the one thing you can say that Chris Ballard has done well is that he's been able to get some guys in the secondary. Rodney Thomas has really played well. Isaiah Rodgers has played well, but all the problems right now root from up front because they haven't been able to build around the quarterback position. And the loss of Jack Doyle is looming larger and larger as the season goes on because I think everyone had an expectation. It's like, okay, there is going to be a drop-off because of the Jack Doyle effect. But it's like, okay, how much? Because, nobody really sees all the work that he does along the offensive line and help with blocking into the run game. But you certainly do feel it right now with this team.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Speaking of Jeff Saturday, 2 games in, a small sample size, there's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
I've always taken the approach, Eddie, that I'm going to take the full season and let's just see the full 8 games,
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of make a decision. But so far, so good. I mean, wouldn't you say? I mean, with him, I mean, there's nothing to cause concern at the very least.
Yeah, you haven't seen much to complain about. He's done well with the challenges that he's done. I think he's only attempted 1 challenge. But I mean, other than that, he hasn't missed out on opportunities to challenge. I feel like his clock management has been very good. I thought he did it. I thought he did well there in that Philly game, calling those timeouts late inside the 2-minute warning, just to give yourself more time offensively to try and score. But I don't have any complaints with Jeff Saturday. I think just the biggest question with all of this, though, is like, how do you properly judge him? Like, how do you judge a guy who's an interim head coach? Like, you're trying to win, I get it, but he was put into a really bad spot where he needed to win 7-8 games in order to have a realistic shot at making it into the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out because there's so many different avenues on how this can go. Is Jeff Saturday going to actually pursue a career in coaching after this? Is the report of that he wants to go into the front office role after the season true? I don't know, but so far I like what I've seen from Jeff Saturday because he's brought a little bit of juice and energy to a team that really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, like you said, there's really nothing you can really pull from the 2-game sample size. But I would say this, Eddie, he wins that game against the Eagles, and I mean, he's the darling of the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about this guy. Indy is just pumping him up all week long. We talk about Chris Ballard doubling back. Another position that really let us down in that game was that field goal. We missed a field goal, and it was an odd field goal that he missed. Normally, you shank it or slice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just fell short. He just didn't kick it far enough. I mean, that's all it really boiled down to. It's been a thing that we've dealt with for a couple years as well. Those types of things come back and bite you. Looking with maybe one eye towards the future, are you team at all costs let's draft a quarterback next year, or where are you at with that?
So here's my thought on that. They're not going to be in a position where they're going to be able to get CJ Stroud or Bryce Young unless they do something Chris Ballard has never done and trade up into the first round and further to get up into that range. But you're going to have to get really high up there. And it's also going to determine, let's say, how does Chicago finish? How does that pick that the Eagles get out of that Saints trade? How does that finish? Because those are 2 picks that you have to monitor right now because those are 2 teams that have a quarterback. They have Justin Fields and they have Jalen Hurts. There are some other talented players that are worth that in that consideration at 3, 4, and 5 that aren't quarterback. And Will Levis hasn't played well lately for Kentucky. So you have to assume that his stock is going to fall a little bit. Hendon Hooker just tore his ACL, so his stock is going to fall a little bit. It just depends to me on how it all plays out because if you want to go the Will Levis route, he's a guy who has the intangibles. He has the big arm. He has the mobility in the pocket. It's the decision-making and the being able to read the defense. I think that's been his biggest problem. And Matt Ryan is still under contract for another year. So is it like I don't want to make it a Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith kind of deal here, but because everyone now just compares everybody to Mahomes because that's what they're looking for. But like, does he sit behind a veteran quarterback to learn the offense, to learn how to read a defense, who's done it for a numerous amount of years at Matt Ryan? That's one avenue. The other avenue that I have, that I'm been kind of thinking about it is you ride it out another year with Matt Ryan. You get his contract off the books. That way he doesn't have all that dead cap. And then you make a serious push up into that first round because you're going to have two really, really good quarterbacks in the 2024 draft, and Caleb Williams and Drake May. I really like both of those guys because they're both bring two different kinds of skill sets. May has the ability to be a runner if you need him to be a runner, but he's a pass first kind of guy. And then everybody out of that Lincoln Riley system lately from Oklahoma at quarterback has done a really, really good job outside of Baker Mayfield in the NFL. So that's kind of why I like Caleb Williams. Plus, he's already kind of been playing with some NFL talented players on the outside. I think that'll help him a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what we do. Even more interesting to see who's the general manager in charge of, would it be Chris Ballard? Would it be Jeff Saturday? Will it be somebody that we're not even thinking of right now? Like, it's going to be fireworks this offseason. Everybody in that building on West 56 will definitely be judged as far as that goes. Looking forward to the Steelers game, Monday night game. I believe as we're speaking right now, at a Tuesday 4-11, I think the Colts are favored by 3.
2.5, 3, depending on where you're looking at.
Yeah. I think with Caesars, they were 3 about an hour ago. You know how that's volatile. It changes a little bit.
Yeah.
A winnable game, right? Like a winnable game, but this is kind of a two-parter. Are you team, let's wave the white flag right now and let's just position ourselves for the best we possibly can in the draft? Are you saying it's not over till it's over and let's just keep pushing and let's keep seeing what we got with this football team in what looks like should be a winnable football game this Monday night at home?
Okay, I'll start with the Steelers preview. How many times have we said in years past, Colts Steelers winnable game for the Colts, and they lose?
Yeah.
The Steelers, the Ravens, the Titans now, and the Jaguars. 4 teams that the Colts continue to struggle with no matter the season, no matter who's the head coach, no matter who's the quarterback. And when you're looking at the Steelers, you've got Hayward, you've got Watt, you've got Fitzpatrick, and I'm even forgetting the middle linebacker that they've got over there. Edmonds, I think he's still over there. But they have a lot of talented players, especially on that defensive line. And with the way the Colts offensive line's been playing, and as we all know, that's a big concern for me. It's a really big concern. They just hung up 30 points on the Bengals. And that's a team that has been struggling to score too. They're averaging 17 points a game. Colts are 17.3 points per game. So if you're a betting man, I would take the under. 2 really good offenses two really good defenses with not good offenses. So that's kind of what I would look at. And Colts have to be able to contain Najee Harris. I'm looking forward to see who lines up across from George Pickens because Isaiah Rodgers has been really good in coverage. Pickens is a bigger guy. And Deontay Johnson's more of the guy that beats you off the line of scrimmage. He's more of a quick release kind of guy to get some separation early. And then be able to get past you. So it'll be interesting to see how Rodgers and Gilmore stack up between those 2 receivers. And then can't forget about Freiermuth either. Tight ends against the Colts have had success over the years, to say the least. And Freiermuth has been the guy for Pickens, his little safety valve over the middle of the field. Zaire Franklin and Bobby Okereke will have their hands covered there. And I don't think you have to really spy on him as much as you had to with Jalen Hurts and some of the past quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting from both sides because somebody's going to make plays for this Colts offense. Paris Campbell has been stepping up lately offensively, which is something you really want to see considering it's a contract year for him. Colts fans haven't seen him on the field much at all throughout his career. And then the second question about the waving the white flag. That was your second question, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the benefit of the doubt right now for the Colts is that they're in the AFC. So there is still the path that you can make it. I think they need to win 5 games the rest of the way, no matter who it's against. 5 wins get you to 9. That gives you a dart throw of a chance at whatever the 13% or whatever they're at right now.
Yeah.
I don't think you can wave the white flag yet. I mean, there's still the chance because I know we've seen it underneath Frank Reich. This team somehow gets hot. Next thing you know, they're rolling. You get a couple wins here, a couple wins there, boom, you're right in the playoff picture again. So even if they lose to Pittsburgh, I'm not fully white flag yet. But if they lose If they lose Monday night to Pittsburgh, then Sunday night to Dallas, then at that point I would probably consider waving the white flag, because I don't think they gave Sam Ehlinger a realistic chance or sample size to determine if he is a viable backup in the NFL, because I don't think he is a starting quarterback. I think he's out to prove he's a viable backup, but that's kind of like where my thought process is between the game and the white flag. I know that's the one thing, and Kevin talks about this all the time about fandom, is like you've got fans who are like, let's get Sam in there, let's get the high draft pick. Then there are other fans who are like, this team is too talented to just give up right now where you're at in the season. So that's like one of the great things about, being a fan of any professional team.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I am not team wave a white flag. I am a team win, baby. I want to push it as far as it goes. I was looking at the Bengals schedule as the rest of the season goes down. Bengals look like they have a pretty tough schedule as it goes. So that's probably your only possibility to maybe sliding in and sneaking in past them if you can get hot 5-1. Before we get off here, Eddie, who's been the best player for Indianapolis this year, in your opinion? I'll go first. I'll give you a second to think about it. I'm going to say a person maybe that no one thinks about, probably doesn't get enough credit, but I'm going to say Grover Stewart has been the best player all year long for the Indianapolis Colts, and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, totally agree with you. That was the guy who immediately came into mind. So I agree with you. I'm going to go off a different player, though, just to change it up a little. I'll go with Zaire Franklin. I think he has been – the stats don't lie in terms of the tackles, but as of late, he's been making big plays. He had that fumble he forced the fumble against Philly, but he is just constantly in there making plays, no matter if it was Shaq next to him when he was in there for a cup of coffee or Bobby Okereke. But I think Zaire Franklin has really proven this year that he can be a leader for that Colts defense, because I think that's another trait that doesn't get brought up enough with Zaire, is how much of a leader he is inside the locker room and within that defensive unit. But I think next to Grover Stewart, I think Zaire Franklin has to be second. And then if you really want to get into it, you could put Stephon Gilmore third, maybe. Yeah. There hasn't been many interceptions, but the plays that he has made when you need him to make plays have been big.
Yeah, I know, no doubt about it. I love both of those picks, actually. Zaire's been solid. Don't want to ask him to have to run with a wide receiver or a tight end 35, 40 yards down the field. Yeah. But that being said, that's nitpicking. He's been really, really good all year long. And I think this Gus Bradley defense is kind of catered to Zaire's, strong suit when it comes down to that. Eddie, thank you so much. I know you've been busy, man. You've just been going Pacers, Colts, the whole nine. You was on Dan's show today producing. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll do it again down the road, okay?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, anytime. Go Colts.
Absolutely.